first time here, welcome. And if you're back for another video, then welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about how to find housing when you are a travel nurse. If this is your first time going on a travel assignment, this can sometimes be one of the most daunting tasks that you are just dreading, one of the hardest decisions that you have to make, and it just can sometimes be very, very overwhelming. So in this video, I am going to be discussing the differences between agency-based housing, meaning you're having your recruiter, your company find you housing, versus you finding your own place. Let's start from the top. A lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but just for those who may not understand, when you are a traveler, you receive, in addition to your hourly wage, so the most simple way I always tell people is kind of like a bonus. So you have your hourly and then you get X amount of money that is labeled under housing, and then you have X amount of money that you get every week for food and incidentals. Now, your housing money, so if there's 4 paychecks in a month where you're getting paid every week, say you're getting $500 every week for housing, so that adds up to $2,000 a month. If you are somebody that decides that you would like your agency to find you a place to live, you will not get that $500 a week in addition on your check. It will basically just disappear. If you are somebody that decides that you would like to find your own housing, you will see that $500 added to your check every week, and that is the money that you can use toward housing. You don't have to, but it is there to go towards housing expenses. All right, so that is how I can explain housing stipends when you are a travel nurse. The pros of finding agency-based housing. If this is your first travel assignment, and 1, you're in a crunch for time, and 2, you don't really know the city, you're stressed, you just want the most simplest way of living, then go with the agency-based housing. They take care of everything for you. It's basically like checking into a hotel, and some travel companies, you're actually going to be living at a hotel, especially with everything that's going on right now in the world, and this is like the year of the nurse. A lot of travel companies have gotten exclusive contracts with big name hotels, and they are able to put their travelers in these hotels. Availability is another reason you may want to go with the agency-based housing. This could go both ways, not only in big cities, but small towns as well. When I took a contract in Boston, it was so difficult for me to find housing. I did end up going with like an Airbnb type situation. I actually have a video on it, and I will link it down below if you want to check that out. But up in Boston, they have professionally run Airbnbs, is how I would say it. So basically you're in an apartment building, and then X amount of floors are reserved specifically for a company that has bought them out and turned them into Airbnbs. And that's where I ended up living. And it was so much easier than finding a place to stay, because Boston is a very busy city. There's limited places to find housing. Lola! That's my dog, I'm sorry, she's like scratching. Better pricing. Better pricing is another reason that you may want to go with your agency-based housing option. Sometimes your agency will get a lot better rates than you would as an individual. Once again, they are a big company. They can go to a hotel, they can go to an apartment building and say, hey, we are willing to pay for this amount of rooms or this amount of apartments. Can you give us a discounted rate? And they do that. So that would save you money as well. Having to not put any money up front. If you are somebody who is starting a travel assignment and your financial situation does not allow you to be able to just put $1,000 so you can reserve a place for a month, or pay the $1,500 so you can reserve a hotel room for an entire month, this is the way to go. Also, you gotta think, God forbid something happens where you paid for this hotel for a whole month, or you paid for an Airbnb, and then you get there and your contract is canceled, or the place that you thought you were renting is not what it is, you may not be able to get your money back, because at that point it's between you and whoever you made your living arrangement with. So that is one benefit to going with the agency-based housing. God forbid something happens, you have to cancel your contract, there's an emergency, you are not going to be footing a bill. Last but not least, a benefit to going with agency-based housing is if you have pets. So this is something that you may not have thought about or may not be something that you were aware of. I personally travel with my dog, and it can get very expensive traveling with a pet. And if you got pets with an S, it can get even more difficult because not all hotels allow you to bring your animal with you. And with apartments, if you are coming with an animal, sometimes there's restrictions, there's a lot of paperwork, and it just may not work out in your favor and just may make your life that much more difficult. So those are just things to keep in mind if you choose to go with agency housing, pros and cons. Now, if you are somebody who is like, I don't want to do agency-based housing, I want to keep my points, I want to go with finding my own place. These are a couple of different options that you have. Airbnb, VRBO, hands down, probably one of the best options, and I have used them myself. With Airbnb, VRBO, a lot more people know about Airbnb, but VRBO is another one that you can use if you cannot find a place on Airbnb. And I think we all know what Airbnb is. You're basically renting a room, you're renting a house, you're renting a space from an individual. There's pros and cons to this as well. I have heard horror stories because you are dealing with an individual. There's that trust factor, and I have heard nurses that have booked rooms, booked in houses, and when they got there, it wasn't what they expected. The landlord was a nightmare, the place wasn't clean, it wasn't what they expected. So that's just something to keep in mind, but it can be a very affordable option for you. Just a little sidebar, side note, if you are somebody who is choosing to go with the Airbnb route, and once you get there you would like to extend, or if you want to extend from the get-go, you can ask the owner of the listing if they offer any type of discount for an extended stay. This is something that may not always be listed on the listing, but a lot of owners will give you a discount if you tell them you're going to be there for 13 weeks because they know they will have somebody there for that period of time. Just like I said, also be careful with that option because God forbid something happens and your contract is canceled, you may still have to pay for those 3 months of staying in that place. Sublet.com. So sublet.com is another option where basically you can sublease from an individual. Once again, it can come with it could come with some negatives because just like Airbnb, you're dealing with a person. They may not even be allowed to be subleasing to you, and they are. You may have a horrible landlord. So like I said, just something to keep in mind. An extended stay hotel. So as previously mentioned, a lot of extended stay hotels are actually offering nurses themselves free and discounted rates, okay? And these rates are pretty darn good, especially right now with us being essential workers and everything that's going on. I even remember at one point Hilton was offering free.com stays when I was in Boston, free stays to healthcare workers for the entire month. So even if they're not offering that, and I don't think a lot of companies are still doing the free to healthcare workers rate, call. I just had a friend of mine who was on her travel assignment, her first one, called me, and I told her to ask, but she didn't even think she can, and she got an awesome discounted rate once she let them know that she was going to be a traveler. The next thing that you can do is to ask your recruiter. This may sound like, you know, a weird, this may seem like a little, ask my recruiter? Yes, ask your recruiter because she may have placed other travelers in that area, in that town, in that hospital that you are going to. So she may be able to reach out to those nurses, or if they have told her or him already what they have used in that area, and she may be able to point you in the right direction as to what would be your best bet as far as housing in that area that you are going to be traveling to. Facebook, social media, that is another thing that you can use. I cannot stress this enough. You need to join some Facebook groups. We all join Facebook to post pictures, you know, keep up with family, but you could also use it to help with your traveling. There are specific Facebook groups that are designed to help travel nurses find places to live when they are traveling. There are some when people who are not travelers can list a place, or there are some where it's basically just travelers that are trying to link up, travel together, give you options. So you can make a post like, hey, I'm going to Boston next week. Does anybody have any leads to finding a place to live? And trust me, somebody will post on there that they stayed at da-da-da and it was a great experience, or call Hilton, they're offering 30% off. This is my code, like whatever. So definitely join some Facebook groups, ask around, do your research. It's gonna take a little bit longer. It's gonna be a lot more work than going with your agency-based housing, but honey, the amount of money that you are going to save a lot of times by going with finding your own housing versus going with what the agency is trying to give you is a lot, and it will add up. My recommendation, I really think it's a case-by-case thing. I don't think I could really say finding your own housing is always the best route to go, but just evaluate your situation. One option that you could also do, if you plan on staying somewhere for a very long time, what I would do is go with the agency-based housing for at least the first 13 weeks that you plan to stay there, and use those 13 weeks wisely and start looking for places that you may want to live in that area. That's another great option that I would do. So then that way you have 13 weeks to see what's affordable, what's available, and you could make your decision when you renew your contract, or if you plan on staying in that area, whatever other hospital, what you want to do. And yeah, that is pretty much it for me today. This was a fairly short video, but like I said, I wanted to give you some options, let you know my experiences as far as finding my own place, finding my own housing when it comes to travel nursing. And I hope this has helped you. If it has, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, post it on a Facebook group. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Love you guys so very much. Thank you so much for coming, for watching my video. And you know that thing I do at the end of my video? So if you completed it, this whole video, you got to the very end, I want you to comment down below gray underscrubs, because that's what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a gray underscrub, and this one is from Figs, which has become a very problematic brand, if I must put in my 2 cents, I mean. But yeah, comment down below gray underscrubs if you guys finished. That is pretty much it. Love you lots, and see you at my next video. Bye.